Welcome back, everyone, to Web3 Unpacked. This is Rich Pasqua, and today we're happy to have Arief Widhiyasa, founder and CEO of Mythic Protocol, an innovative force in the world of Web3 gaming. I'm certainly eager to learn more about this platform and their integration of Web3. Let's dive in. Welcome, Arief.
Hi, Rich. Thank you. Thank you very much for having me. It's very
Yes.
excited to be here.
Awesome. Yeah, it's our pleasure. And, we were just talking before, and where are you located right now?
Now I'm in Vietnam, but I'm based in Jakarta, Indonesia.
Awesome. Yeah. Yeah. This is a young man who gets around. Oh, and speaking of young men, you were actually on the Forbes 30 under 30 list, correct?
Yes. It's in the previous company side. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. We've had a few 30 under 30s on the show, and it's pretty awesome to see. Because you always have really good products that you're pushing and great ideas. So one of the questions, and I'm trying to do this with all my guests moving forward, is what does Web3 mean to you outside of what you're doing, or inclusive, I guess, everything, kind of in a broad stroke?
Um. Oh, it's the first question is already very deep. I think I will start with my experience, like understanding Web3. I think the first time I heard about Web3 is mainly because of Bitcoin. I think it's around like 2012. At that time, my friend like told me about Bitcoin, and since I was my background is computer science, so I do learning about distributed computing back then when I was in college. And then when my friends told about Bitcoin, it's more like techie stuff, but oh, this is the first use case of distributed computing that people really use. I think that that time that's the message. I was super interested with technology. I regret myself that I didn't buy a lot at the time. That's the biggest regret. Um, but I've been following like the technology since then. And then I remember in 2016, it's like most of my friends actually do a lot of like trading or investment in the all the uh, cryptocurrencies that happened back then. I tried a little bit at a time, but I still see that when we do only like crypto investing and trading, it's still more like a zero-sum game. And until NFT recently, like 2021. So at that time, like it's because I was in the game industry. So I've been in the game industry for almost like 15 years. And in 2021, when the boom of play to earn cycles happening and all like the promise of the Web3 game, I think that's really like attract everybody's eyes on how games mid Web3 could be in the futures. And that what really interests me in to explore more about Web3 because before I was in the sideline. But when learn more about Web3, I think the biggest thing that captivates me a lot is the promise and the ethos of Web3 and the future of decentralization. Imagine like on from the gaming industry point of view, like I've been a gamer since my childhood, and I believe like in the future of how we able to involve gamers, the community itself, to actually able to grow together with the game and also like share the upside of the game. I think that main promise of building together, grow together is what really captivates me about Web3 side. But I realized that in the past like 2 years, the main message is still about offer financialization of Web3. It is good maybe at some point, but I do think that it distracts ourselves with the main value of how Web3 should be and how Web3 can be. I think that that's what Web3 means for me personally.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you said a lot of great things in there, and the entryway or the doorway for a lot of people, especially in kind of a crypto Web3 space, is through Bitcoin, right? It seems like you've been involved for quite some time, and then that's what happened to me. You start to read white papers and
Yes.
understand the philosophy of it, the democratization
Yes.
of currency through DeFi and whatnot. It's really kind of a special, once you kind of make that leap, it's really kind of special. And then it's a rabbit hole from there. And then it's all about
Yes.
possibilities, right? The other thing you mentioned, and obviously this is your forte, everything in like technology usually funnels through the gaming community, right? Or breaking or leading technologies. So it really does make sense that gaming kind of starts to dabble in the NFT, DeFi, kind of the customization world of digital assets. So really, really cool. Now, Arief, it seems like Mythic Protocol, or actually, there's a ton of Web3. I mean, maybe not a ton, but a lot of Web3 companies out there right now. Can you give us an overview of your gameplay, your cooperative gameplay, and what the platform really can do and how it differentiates itself from everyone else?
Yeah. Um, Thank you. I think to answer that question, maybe I will try to revisit on. So initially, when we tried to build Mythic Protocol, we asked ourselves like, why Web3? Why Web3? Like, what's the value of Web3 brings into the game industry? I think we keep repeating that question, and we started Mythic Protocol in November 2021, and that's the question that we always ask. And I think now we kinda have the answer that if we see like the history of gaming industry every 30 years or so, there is a new cycle coming in the game industry, mainly because of new technology. So if we remember, like in the era of 1970s, at that time, there is no game industry. Like a game, like video game is just a hobby made by like people in the labs, like tweaking oscilloscopes to build tennis for two. So it's basically just a hobby until semiconductor technology, where there's a PC, personal computers, that allows people to build like console and arcade. And at the time, the game industry flourished because everybody could build content on top of that platform. And at that time, the industry tried to solve gameplay. And that's why there's a new genre and then the fun games actually coming out. The next cycle, that's the first era of game industry. It's create the industry from 0 to 40 billion. And then the next cycle, mainly driven by mobile and internet. Internet solved the distribution because before it's actually very hard to distribute. We need to distribute for CD. The logistics is very heavy. Like sending the game from the US to like I was born in Bali, so sending the game from the US to Bali is actually very logistic nightmare. But internet solved that, and then mobile solved that. Now everybody have a device. So at that time, the next problem to solve is adoption. How to ensure that all the users in the world, like 3 billion users, able to play games. And the solution actually is a safe in this model, free to play. That actually scaled the industry. Now free to play is already the biggest model in the industry, like 200 billion industry. And we believe the next cycle of gaming industry will be driven by two technology. The first one is distributed computing, which is blockchain that solves trust. And the second one is AI that solves capability gap. So we believe that the next cycle of the gaming industry is not about how we are able to expand the user base or how we are able to increase the ARPU, because now the game industry already the highest game industry, the highest entertainment industry. So we believe the next problem to solve is how we're able to create new economy where like each actor in the ecosystem actually value generating and able to create like new economy. That's why we coin out some like collaborative universe. I think the main differentiation on the goal itself is that we believe that the next cycle of game industry is how we're able to create an ecosystem where each actor in the ecosystem actually value generating. Like the gamers itself, even when they play, they generate value. When they transact with others, they generate value. I think that's what we really aim to be. And that's why in our first game, it's called Riftstone. Well, we try to build a gameplay that's actually, we call it like evergreen games. So a game that could be played like for years, maybe like 1 decade or so. And the game itself mainly focus on collaborative activity. So it's a co-op PvE kind of games.
Mm.
Yeah, I hope that kind of explains. Sorry, I
Yeah,
speak too long. Yeah.
yeah. So in essence, you're obviously there's gameplay, right? You're bringing in, it could be Call of Duty or anything, right? Any kind of
Yes.
game within your platform, but you also allow for kind of competitive leaderboards and team structures and team framing, right?
Yes.
That's awesome. So you can create your own competitive environments with friends or people around the world. match skill levels, but also you can create pots or pots of money, correct? Or
Yes,
tokens that you all could kind of vie for or, position for, right? Which adds another layer to the whole experience. And then
yes,
are you guys, so that makes perfect sense to me. Now, are you guys allowing for people to create custom in-game modifications and kind of digital assets, clothing, gear?
yes. Yes, actually, we go one layer deeper. So we built a system. We call it DUM. So we call it the DUM project. So it stands for Decentralized Universal Meta on Blockchain. So it's DUMB, DUM. So the idea is that if we want to create a world where the collaborative entertainment happening, we need to ensure that everybody able to create and also own what they create. So even like imagine like in some of the IP side, I will take analogy of Star Wars. Imagine like we're building Star Wars, but everybody could create their own spaceship, create their own planet, create their own monsters and characters, and then build story on top of it and own that. I think that would be the fundamental layer because if we're able to own the idea first, then like the next product on top of that idea, you could also like build on top of it. So the user will be able to create the weapon and everything and own it because even like in the fundamental level, in idea level, they're also able to own it.
Yeah, to me that's really really cool. Then they can kind of like lease it out or, kind
Yes.
of sell it or it becomes an economy. So with that said, this is kind of the interesting part for me when I hear gaming and web3 is that actually is a lot to offer within gameplay because then it becomes the gameplay is extended, right? So now it's
Yes.
about game design and
Yes.
storytelling and creating your own, almost like creating your own brand within a game, which I find
Yes.
very very cool. And a lot of people don't look at it that way. But with all this said, are you creating like a marketplace for your community so people can almost have like mini storefronts for themselves?
Yeah, so we realized that most of the gamer probably just do trading, but some subset of the gamers, sorry, will actually create something. So I think we will build a marketplace that actually support both of the use case.
Now, after going through a lot of your materials and kind of digging in, I found it interesting, especially on your website and a lot of the other, touch points like Twitter or X. Um, it seems like you have your own operatives, right?
Yes.
As
Yes.
the Mythic Protocol brand, you have your own operatives, and it seems like there's an underlying story. Can you kind of unpack that a little bit for us? Because that's to me that was pretty interesting.
Thank you, Riz. So, um, so the whole idea of Mythic Protocol is we call it fantasy world plus one. So imagine like we are in the real world, but there's a add one fantasy layer, and the TL their version of the universe itself is that imagine like Men in Black or John Wick, but instead of fighting alien, they fight mythical beings. So we try to bring all the audience to actually imagine like what if maybe like what if Titanic is not really uh drowned because of the iceberg, but because it's actually a group of secret operatives that want to fight the Kraken, but they lost the battle. Like asking that kind of a conspiracy. So by building that kind of layer, we allows users to ask question and then maybe like see historical point of view, a historical event in a very different point of view. Like what if the end of World War is not really because of a truce, but because in the middle of the battle there is a portal of mythical beings appears, and then humanity decide why we need to fight each other. There is a bigger enemy there. So that kind of question. So by having that kind of like base story model, people will be able to advance from that story. I think that's how the operative in. So the operative basically the secret agent of the world that we play in the games also that we could create the characters also and become the base of all the stories, narrative storytelling from the universe itself.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And it reminds me of some kind of like, directors and authors of sci-fi books. They'll take prominent historical events and then
Yes.
twist it and say, what if,
Yes.
what if, Russia didn't invade this or that, or
Yes.
the German army didn't advance here or whatever. Or if some giant historical event just didn't happen, what does it mean? Or if it happened in the opposite direction, I really like that personally in storytelling for books and movies. But it's interesting to bring it to gameplay, and it becomes like almost like your comic book, right? The
Yes.
Mythic
Yes.
Protocol comic book, in a sense. Now the gameplay even goes further if you so choose to kind of investigate and if you're curious enough. That is
Yes.
cool. So anything to kind of enrich kind of the storytelling, the enjoyment, is always really cool. And as far as like the idea of entertainment, you guys use a term called collaborative entertainment. Now, what is
Yes.
your? Because
Yes.
I've maybe heard it before, but what what is your take on that?
Yes. Um, I think it's a like our thought concept where like the goals of what we're trying to build is that we want to build an entertainment where every actors in the ecosystem itself is collaboratively building the entertainment. I think that's like in from the goal statement perspective. And but if we see like from each actor perspective, let's say from the gamer's perspective, we want to build like an entertainment where the gamer's action or maybe like decision is also matters. Like imagine like on the what if scenario, and there is a scenario of maybe like a kraken trying to destroy a big city, maybe like let's say San Francisco, and then all the gamers actually joining to on that operation to actually prevent that from happening. And then in between, there's each gamer have a choice whether they need to save the city or just kill the kraken. If majority decided to save the city more, and then the end result of that campaign will be the kraken will be fleeing. But if the everybody majorly decided to kill the kraken first, the kraken will die, but the city will be damaged a lot. So I think that kind of how to say like permanent wall, but all the gamer's decision actually matters. That's on the story level, even on the like meta level. If I decided this, I will not be able to use this kind of skill because I've made the decision in the past. So we will use blockchain as the persistent world building to actually record every action. So I think one of the key differentiation is that we always say like action matters. It's always recorded on the chain, and then that will evolve the world further to progress. And hopefully by doing that, we actually build a foundational base for everyone to collaboratively build new entertainment together.
Wow, that's pretty cool. So yeah, everything's recorded real time, recorded to the blockchain, and then I guess you can kind of build off of that with team members or other collaborators across the Mythic Protocol universe. That's pretty cool. I'm gonna have to look into that a little bit more because I really like that. Now, what this is a little bit more of a macro question, um, and it's one of those questions that comes up, right? And you touched on it a little bit in the beginning, but what is your vision for the Web3, not just Mythic, but for the Web3 sector itself? And how is Mythic poised or positioned to kind of maybe influence and or change that world? People always ask, like, okay, Web3 and gaming, what does it mean? Okay, well, it means this, and this, and you pretty much articulated the nuts and bolts of it already. But beyond that, where do you see the industry going? Because a lot of people are talking about entertainment, and Web3. We have a lot of conversations about that. And to me, this is similar, but not the same.
Yeah,
What are your thoughts on the gaming sector?
yeah. Um, I think definitely like Web3 gaming should be beyond ownership because like most of the conversation is still like revolve around ownership and also like secondary market trading and gaining like royalty share on top of it. I think um, the next cycle of gaming will not only driven by Web3 but also AI. And I think because the Web3 side of technology and AI side of technology is like two sides of the same coin, because for example, like AI introduced a new set of problem in the world that actually Web3 could solve. But also Web3 introduced like this efficiency to the world that actually AI is able to solve. So I think like these two technology will kind of go hand in hand. And these two technology actually create the next cycle of gaming. And the vision that we see will happen is that the next frontier of gaming is not gaming as we see like now there's a game publisher, game developer build the game and then push it to the users and the user love it and they pay it and then one institution or maybe like one group actually value capture everything. That's in the past. I think the future will be like because of the enablement of Web3 that solve ownership and trust and enablement of AI that maybe like when I was in college student, I could now create something without even like need to learn about programming or art, but I'm able to create a story. I'm able to create a beautiful graphic because of AI. I think the combination of that will allows like maybe like enforce participation of everybody that love one gaming ecosystem to build the collaborative entertainment. I think that will be the future. Like we are moving toward on building an entertainment together and having the and take and capturing the value together also and try to build it together and get the upside together. I think that's I don't know. I'm not really good in articulating it, but I think that's the vision. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I know where you're going, and I think it's really interesting. Like people like yourself and developers, we are starting to talk about the intersection of Web3 and AI a tremendous amount more these days. And to me, Web3 literally is kind of the roadway, right? It's the streets that you're going to
Yes.
be able to do a lot of different things and connect a lot of different people in a very trusted manner. Now, the AI, to me, it's almost like, Ethereum allowing you to build technology stacks on top of their stack, L1, and really creating powerful dApps or applications that really can take ownership of a lot of different, fundamental work processes. So I think that's really cool. And it is really the future. And we're just scratching the surface. Like Web3 is
Yes.
like, it's important, but it's important for people to realize, like, yeah, AI is the bright, shiny object on the table these days, and everyone's talking about it, as they should. But it really does go hand in hand with Web3. You really kind of need the two of them to make an impact within social economies and worlds that we create for ourselves and others. With that said, now the power there, to me, is probably the doorway to a lot of this power or coupling of AI and Web3 is through NFTs, right? And I think
Yes.
you went into it before, and you're enabling users to kind of craft, build, and manage, or
Yeah.
disseminate NFTs as they will, as it relates to the Mythic gameplay. That's really cool. Are you guys going to allow people to build smart contracts into the NFTs that you're introducing soon? I know it's not like immediate. That's a whole other world and task unto itself,
Yes.
because I know what you're under, the pressure you're under just to kind of get things working, right?
Yes.
But is that part of your thinking for the future?
Yes, actually, before I'm addressing that, I really like your analogy of Web3 is actually the roadway in a trusted
Mm,
manner. I think that's a very good analogy. I will borrow that term from you in the
yes,
future. Yeah,
feel free.
and thank you. On the NFT side, so I think our approach on building the NFT ecosystem in Mythic Protocol, we always ask the fundamental of why. Initially, like we always ask the question like why gamers need NFT, and the usual consensus in the game industry is that NFT is good for ownership, the true ownership, or NFT is good for interoperability. or NFT is good for composability. I think that's the initial consensus. And in I think in early 2022, what we did is that we do our survey, because our main market is we try to aim for the US market. So we do a lot of like market research. And interestingly is that most of the gamers actually care about ownership, but they don't care about whether it's decentralized or centralized. For example, like if I already own a Steam account, most of the gamers thinks that they already own it, regardless of centralized or decentralized. So they don't care about decentralization in some of like UX POV. It's the same about interoperability and composability. Like they agree with the idea of interoperability, but we don't even need blockchain to actually implement interoperability and composability. Like Pokemon games, since the Game Boy version, it's already have a like small subset of interoperable asset. So, and then we always ask this question, then why fundamentally this technology actually changed something on like what NFT able to do that the previous technology not able to do. And our thesis is a concept of legacy. So the idea is like, imagine like this agent fighting mythical beings. So the legacy concept is that a concept of how we are able to install emotional value in an evolving asset. So imagine like we hunt together, and then when we playing together, there's a Ifrit monster, the fire, the god of fire monster, and then I'm using a new minted agent with a new like weapon, maybe like assault rifle. But I get lucky. I managed to do this is a like 1,000 people raid boss kind of thing. But I get lucky. I managed to do the last hit. But it's just lucky shot. And then I get the last hit, and then my weapon evolve, becoming like Ifrit kind of assault rifle. And there's only one Ifrit assault rifle because Ifrit only appears one, like this year. But by having a weapon that actually evolve, there's a utility, of course, like maybe like fire damage plus what 10%. But the most important thing is that this is the only weapon that I use to kill that Ifrit, and the emotional value because of that is becoming my part of my legacy. Maybe like someone wants to bid this weapon for 100K. I don't want to sell it because I want to tell my grandson in the maybe like 50 years in the future that this is the weapon that I used to kill the Ifrit. But the history like recorded on the chain, the NFT side.
Yeah, there's a ton of things, Arif, that you brought up during that little segment right there that appeals to the product designer and UI UX creative guy that I am, which is you don't plug in technology for the sake of plugging in technology. It has to have a purpose. It has to have a job to do, and technically real value, right? That the
Yes.
users want, right? There's
Yes.
tons of value in NFTs out there, but do you really want that? And it's refreshing to hear that you're doing continuous audience outreach and research, because a lot of people push that aside. They think because they're in the industry, they know everything, and it's not really the case. And the other thing too is that gamers are their own people. They're their own breed, if you will. They like certain things, they don't like certain things, and they're not afraid to tell you, right? And that's cool when you have open chats during gameplay, and it's not just boosting or razzing your competitors. It's actually giving feedback. So paying attention to that is really cool. So that's really, really interesting. I love the idea of that. So yeah, it is it's a balance, right? So it's good. I like it.
Thank you.
So what is the let's see, what are some of the you know one of the biggest things in Web3, not just Web3, Web2, marketing, advertising, branding, everything. It's about aggregating audiences, and not just now it's becoming not just an audience, the right audience, right? So to
Yes.
me, building a company, a design company, building a podcast on the side is more about, it's not about the numbers and piling like, wow, we have tons and tons of users, but it's the right people, right?
Yes.
who are going to interact with your content and stay with you for the long haul. What are
Yes.
some of the strategies that you and the Mythic team are implementing to not only gain a community or build a community, but to retain that community? How are you guys doing that?
Um, Honestly, we still like do trial and error at this point, but we believe that the best approach to build this is by, as you also mentioned, to focus on the right people and just organically snowball from there. I think that's like the strategy statement that we did, because when we start to enter the space, like the Web3 gaming space 2 years ago, we realized that everybody just try to build a Discord channel, Twitter followers, and then do a lot of like giveaway. You need to join the Discord first, and then you will have chance to win this, win that. And it's actually a very good growth hack strategy. Like I saw project in 2 months, they're able to get like 250,000 Discord followers, 300K Twitter followers. But after 3 months, no engagement at all. Like everybody's quiet. Yeah, so I don't think that's the right way. I believe that if we're able to find the right person, as you mentioned, that and then we build together with them, I think that's the basic like what how we're trying to do. For example, like when we do our initial like pre-alpha game test, so what we do is that we launch the game. It's only like one level kind of game. Um, but it's completely replayable, and then we able to gather like around 1,000 users, and around like subset of that 1,000, I think around maybe like 20 people play the games more than 50 hours. Imagine like it's only one level game, and 20 people play more than 50 hours. And I think one of them, I remember it's a one Philippine guy from Philippines, play more than 100 hours. I think finding these super fans and then build like from there, I think that's how we actually plan to engage the community, and that's from the marketing side of it. But we mainly focus also on doubling down on the product itself. So we really big proponent of a good product will retain the users by itself. So we do a lot of like focus on building the product, A/B testing on the product, do play tests, and then see which part that users churning, which part is the problem, how we're able to improve. I think we kept iterating that way until we have the retention metric that we want on the product itself, then combine it with the community like marketing strategy.
Yeah, interesting approach, and I love like you do really have to start with the product,
Yes,
because if it doesn't work, it doesn't really
yes,
give
it
a
doesn't.
satisfying experience.
Agree.
What's the point? But from a user standpoint, you and other gaming companies and Web3 gaming companies have the advantage of having tapped into a community of people who, to me, what I think, former game nerd and designer, game designer, uh, you know, they're inherently problem solvers. These guys and girls, they are problem solvers. They not only like the game, they like the puzzle, they like the before, the gameplay, and after. So I think tapping into those communities is perfect. It's beautiful if you can do it properly. And specific users themselves, a lot of these people are builders. They will go on to
Yes.
become level designers and game designers
Yeah.
and 3D modelers, shaders, whatever they may be, or film or whatever, or something technical. These are the folks that are really they're playing now, but they're going to be building later on. So that's really cool, in the sense that they can, if you invite them in, they're going to get excited because now they're really a part of the community, really part of the product. And if a gamer is able to help influence the game, that's special for them and for you guys. I almost equate it to the idea of how, say, Porsche or BMW or any of the major, Ford for that matter, Chevy, all of them have their motorsport cars, right? Everything else is like for the community and whatnot. But that's not the dream. That's not sexy. The Formula or Formula One, the E1s, the motorsport BMWs that have been engineered over the years, those are the ones they put in the hands of the drivers, and they continuously ask them, does the car run well? How does it run at high speeds and high temperatures? How's the cornering? Then you can adjust and calibrate from there. So I think it's super cool that you're tapping into the community. And I know, just coming from this world, people not only enjoy it, but they appreciate it. So that's super cool.
Actually, Rich, thank you very much for the idea. Initially, we only think in the first phases that we only engage the community as the gamers, but now you
Yep.
give me a very big inspiration that we actually able to start pitching the concept of the collaborative entertainment to everyone to start collaborating from the beginning. I think that's thank you very much. It's a very inspirational. Thank you.
You're certainly welcome, of course. And I've got tons of ideas, trust me. But yeah, you can create a whole portal where people are like, hey, you want to get involved? And maybe you're not that technical, but you could be a community advocate, you know,
Yes.
amplifying the community and new features and whatnot. So getting the community to help and kind of work with you, that's pretty cool. Then you're going to get some other, you know, people who are studying development or whatnot, and they may be able to help refine specific experiences within the whole Mythic landscape. Very cool, and people love that. They want to get
Yes.
involved. They're touted on the Discord channel. They're pushed on Twitter. So not that they want fame or fortune. They just believe in things in a different way. And sometimes they're a bit more underground, but they do doesn't mean they don't want to participate. So I think it's really cool. The you know, the Web3 development community works that way. I've seen protocols, not gaming protocols, you know, standardized, not standard, but regular Web3 protocols that gamify their whole employment system. So you have, say, you have 50 to 100 employees working across the world. You know, how do you gamify it? How do you keep people interested in your project? Because each developer may be on 1 to 5 projects simultaneously. How do you capture? So even in the development world, you need to capture their imagination. You have to keep them enticed and kind of keep their imagination sparked. So it's challenging for sure, but there are certain ways that you can open the community up. I think you would be so surprised, Arief, as soon as
Interesting.
you do it. So, all right, great. So you've given us so much, Arief, so much already. One thing I do want to tap into, and you kind of hinted at, you know, a little bit of future talk and a few, you know, a little more Web3 gaming future ideas, but from a holistic viewpoint, in the next 6 to 12 months, what do you see happening? What do you want to see happen, I should say, in the gaming industry, in the Web3 space? And they could be, you know, separate or, you know, inclusive of each other. But what do you see happening? What do you want to see happen?
Yeah. I think the number one things that I want to see happening, but I think there's some hint that it's already happening, is that now the major distribution platform, like the PC one, maybe like console distribution platform, I might not mention brand here, will start to embrace the technology and allows games that have the technology on their platform. I think that will happen maybe sooner or later, because most of these actually big brands in console and PC distribution platform is actually applying for patents of a blockchain supported digital asset kind of patent. So I think they already understand the idea. They just still want to do the value capture by themselves. But at least if everybody already started to embrace the idea, we might be arriving to like mass adoption of the technology itself sooner. I think, because in the end of the day, this major distribution platform, it's still the only way for us to go mass. And now a lot of like Web3 game developers is actually try to abstract the Web3 side so that they are allowed to be distributed on that platform. But still, the abstraction layer might hinder a lot of the value of the Web3 side. But I see, since they started to apply pattern here and there, if they're like opening up, that would be like the massive floodgate of new users in a more like meaningful way to enter the Web3 gaming space. I think that's what we really want, like, or maybe like foresee happening pretty soon. And if that happening, then I think it's a win for everybody also in the space.
Yeah, that's really interesting because a lot. I have the same thought, and a lot of other people have the same thoughts as well. So as we look at, say, the DeFi world as it relates to Bitcoin, Ethereum, or crypto in general, we too, all of us in the DeFi world, not just gaming, are waiting for mass adoption. I've been involved for many, many years where it was a handful of people. Now I'm blown away at like large institutions, kind of like gaming companies vying for patents or, presenting legal documentation for patents. You've got Citibank and the BlackRocks and Vanguards of the world now vying for ETFs. And there's mixed emotions about that. That's not something I would ever participate in it because, much like yourself, we've been doing this for a while. We know how to onboard and offboard. We're not afraid. We hold private custody. We utilize certain security protocols, whether it be high tech or extremely simple. So to me, it's a kind of a, well, you're buying paper. You're not buying the gold, you're buying the paper gold, right? But on the flip side, it's trillions of dollars waiting to come in. It's your aunt and uncle. It's your mom and dad wanting to get in, not just play in the Nietzsche or the NASDAQ or anything else. Now everyone can play and the floodgates open up, or so we think will happen. We don't know. But that is a really cool idea. And I love the idea of the traditional 2.0 game box companies, the, Sony's of the world, or, Microsoft's, we're allowed to say them. Microsoft, I could totally see Microsoft jumping into this like head first. Sony is always on the edge of hardware and software for the most part. But what sets Microsoft apart is the idea that they own 22 plus gaming companies. They're going to be the gateway and perhaps the spearhead for a lot of innovative technologies in-game commerce or leaderboards or whatever it may be. Certainly Sony will jump on it too, but in that respect, once they normalize it, put the safe, simple user experience veneer on top of it, and creating wallets that are stupid easy to use, and inherent and automatic, that is really kind of special. And I think it is a big part of it. And I thank you for bringing that up to me, because now I'm like, I get it. Like there are so many other bigger doorways to open up, So I love that. I love that. Now, and adoption, I'm glad you brought that up because adoption is everything in this world. And it's not like, oh, everyone needs to use this. We need bajillions of people to join. We just need people to help build, comment, use the networks, because right now it is still small. If you look at the adoption curve, we are still in that the early hockey stick up, and it is going up. then what I think it'll do is plateau. Um, but this is the challenge, not just for gaming companies, but it is the challenge for everyone else building on Web3. Well, I wanted to jump in and say, as we're kind of wrapping up, I wanted to see if you guys had any other events coming up, Twitter Spaces, anything on your Discord channel. Do you have conferences coming up? Asia to Europe to the United States. Anything happening?
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. I think for us, like the next big milestone for us is that we will start opening up like application for playtest. So we have our like alpha, the public alpha version ready for the game itself, and then we will start our like opening application. I think we will limit like a very, very few people first, maybe like in level of thousands. But we will start like opening it very soon. I think maybe next month. So yeah, we'll love to like be able to find like the initial enthusiasts that we are able to build together with us in this collaborative and entertainment journey. I think that's the yeah the thing that we will what's upcoming next. Yeah.
So play space, right? That's kind of like a test net, kind of, right?
It's a play test. So it's basically like we will share the demo of the games, and then everybody could join and then play it, and then but it in a very short session, short amount of time, maybe like 1 week.
Oh, cool. And then you have mechanisms for them to give you feedback and kind
Yes.
of
Yes.
and then you can iterate. And I love that you're taking a human centric approach or design approach to this because that's what it is.
Yes.
If someone's using it, why
Yes.
not ask them
Yeah,
and
agree.
monitor them?
And that's actually the best way to build a product. Just go out of there and talk to the users, right? That I think a lot of as you said, a lot of project kind of like miss it or put it on the sideline. But I think that's the most important part to do.
I think one of my lights
Okay.
overheated. Sorry about that. We'll just turn that one up a little bit. A little moody lighting here. Sorry about that. So
Nice.
awesome. So you got the play test. I'm excited to see that stuff. It's kind of nerdy user feedback stuff that I like from a design perspective. Arief, we would love to have you back because we like tracking products like this that have that are building real communities and getting feedback from real people in their design process. So we love it. We want to hear more from Mythic and yourself. Do you have any? Are there events coming up that you want to promote, or anything happening right now or in the future?
Um, I think we haven't yet really have something in place aside of the playtest event. I think we definitely will be active in most of the Web3 and gaming conference, and it's definitely like Expo. Like before we active in Gamescom, PAX. I think we will be definitely be in next year PAX also. But at this point in time, we don't have anything concrete yet, unless for the except the playtest.
Yeah, it takes time, and being in this world, much like yourself, there's 1,001 conferences now. It
So
doesn't mean
many.
you have to go to all of them. Trust me, I would be broke if I went to all of them. But uh, you got to go to the right ones, and the ones that I've been to in the past and helped run and organize. Anything gaming always. I don't care if you're a gamer nerd or not. Like it's always interesting for people to kind of learn more about what's going on, because people if you're at these conferences, gaming is the gateway basically
Yes.
to a
Yes.
lot of different things. So it's exciting, and I know you guys are going to crush it.
Thank you.
Very interesting product from lots of different levels, storytelling to gameplay to leaderboards to you know active cooperation and entertainment within from users to users, and the community is building, the environment is building, and the customization is building. So I think that's really cool. We wish you a tremendous amount of luck. Where can our our listeners and viewers get more of Mythic?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, everybody could follow us in our Twitter, Mythic Protocol, at Mythic Protocol, and also in our website, mythicprotocol.com. So I think that will be our main like official channel. And I think soon we will put some like of the writings about our idea, the vision of cooperative entertainment. I think on that two main channel also.
Arief, I will also put links down below so everyone on the Web3 Unpacked side can actually get to everything they want. So stay tuned. We're going live soon. And Arief, thank you so much. You've been great. Really excellent conversation and fun one. And we'd love to have you back. And we look forward to what's next for Mythic Protocol.
Thank you. Thank you very much for you also. Thank you very much for Web3 Unpacked for having us here. Thank you very much.
Of course, our pleasure.